Is nervous system dysregulation wrecking your hormones? This is such an overlooked piece of the hormonal puzzle, and I'm so excited to share some information with you today about how nervous system dysregulation, limbic system damage, all of these things can contribute to your hormones just going haywire and not being able to fix them. So if you've done a lot of things right, if you've changed your diet, you're focusing on good sleep, you're taking all kinds of great supplements, maybe even based on functional medicine lab work that you've had done, and you're still struggling to get those hormones in check, let's talk about nervous system dysregulation. It's kind of a hot topic these days. People know that they're chronically stressed for the most part. Some people feel like they're managing stress fine, but don't realize that it's not what happens to you or the things that, for instance, you don't necessarily have to have a major catastrophic event for your body to be stressed. It's how your body perceives the things that you're managing. And so this can come in various forms. There can be psychological stressors, there can be physiological stressors such as chemicals, environmental toxins, and then physical stressors. So you actually could have a situation where working out is a good thing, but over exerting yourself can cause an additional stress on the body as well. So interestingly, the body does not differentiate between these different types of stressor, chemical, emotional, physical stressors. It does not differentiate between those. So as a result, what happens is the proverbial bucket starts to overflow, and it could cause a lot of dysfunction in the body. One of the things that can happen is a part of our brain called the limbic system can get damaged in this process. And then what happens is it impacts so many different things, our thought patterns, and if you think about it, it makes logical sense also that once your body's stressed, you start releasing different chemicals in the body that are reflective of the body being in a stressed state, and that has a profound physiological impact on us as well. Another thing that people don't realize is how our thoughts impact our physiology. So if we are in, let's just say, like a chronic work stress situation, some sort of relational situation going on, the chemicals that the body releases are just as damaging as some of the environmental toxins that we're exposed to. And a lot of people don't realize how profoundly impactful that can be on our health. So you may have heard me talk before about the priority principle. The body has a priority principle, meaning it'll take whatever nutrition, resources, energy that it has, and it allocates that to what it deems most necessary. So our bodies are really amazing at keeping us alive. So it may decide that today, you know what, we're just not going to work on properly functioning gut microbiome or making sure that those detox pathways are working properly, or in this instance, maybe healing some of the damage that's happened to the brain from toxic thoughts, because there are more pressing issues that the body feels like are necessary to attend to, that need that attention. So for instance, it could be fighting off cancer, could be focusing on your heart beating, just some of the basic tasks to keep you alive, and just saying, you know what, some of this other stuff, she'll still live if these things are not addressed, doesn't always prioritize the way that we would want it to, or we feel like we would like to see. But the body is pretty amazing at keeping us alive, and that's where it's going to focus on the resources and nutrition and energy to go first. So let's go back to some of these thoughts that we can have when we're in a stressed out state. There's something that we call in the limbic system rewiring world, owls, so old wired loops. You know, if we've been through some really chronically stressful times, maybe some trauma there as well, the body has gotten used to a certain thought pattern process happening. And so we can get into these thought patterns that can be really, really damaging. So there's something called neuroplasticity. I don't know if you've heard about this before or not at all. It's really quite amazing. And what it is, it's this scientific research that's been done that shows us that if we can change our thought patterns, we can change our brain basically. So going back to some of these toxic patterns that we get into, they start releasing some of these chemicals that are very inflammatory, very damaging from a health perspective. However, once we change those thoughts, we can reverse some of that damage and get the body into a different pattern. So out of those owls, those old wired loops, and into some really healthy patterns where the body actually starts releasing some of these very healthy healing chemicals. So it's getting the body out of that, I'm sure you've heard before, the fight or flight state, which is a sympathetic nervous system dominant state, and into a more parasympathetic rest and digest state. Now, ideally, when the body's healthy, it can fluctuate back and forth from those states very seamlessly and in a very healthy way. So, for instance, if you walk out into the street and a car screeches, you'll have that initial fight or flight response, but a healthy person can get out of that very quickly. A person that's been chronically stressed for a long time may just add that into their bucket, and it may be an additional toxic burden that they're dealing with that keeps them not only in a fight or flight state, but they may actually progress what we call in the polyvagal theory into like a freeze state, where the body has been so stressed for so long, it starts to almost give up. So we definitely don't want that. We want it in a healthy state where it can go back and forth very seamlessly and really be able to get into that parasympathetic rest and digest state. So let's go back to those thoughts we were talking about and how impactful they can be. So if we focus on healthy thoughts, positive thoughts, and don't focus on maybe what our previous experience has been, maybe with a person, an individual, a situation, we say, oh, it's always been like this before, and those negative thoughts, even if something hasn't happened yet, the neuroplasticity science tells us that the body does not know the difference between something actually happening or not. So it will release all of those chemicals one way or the other, whether it's actually happening or not. So you can come to this crazy, terrible, negative conclusion with something. Nothing has actually happened, but your body responds as if it has. So what we're trying to do with nervous system dysregulation is redirect those thoughts into a positive manner in such a way that they create that healing response in the body. And there are some really amazing tools to do that. You can work with some of the breathing techniques, prayer, meditation, all of that can be really, really helpful. There's some really great exercises that we work with individually when we work with our clients with the Hormone Triad Reset to help support some of what's going on here. Certain exercises can be really helpful as well with a mind-body connection, such as yoga and Pilates and that sort of thing. So there's a number of different tools that you can work with to get the brain out of that owls, the old wired loops, and start redirecting those thoughts to much more positive things where it's having a positive impact on our physiology. So I hope that was some really helpful information for you. There's some really great research that continues to come out about nervous system regulation. Personally, for me as a practitioner, it was a big missing piece of my health puzzle. I had focused significantly on environmental toxins and almost gotten myself to a point where I was so stressed out about making sure that I wasn't having exposures to things that was causing an additional stressor. So we want people to be educated and aware about some of these things and make the best choices that they can, but not to the point where it's actually causing more stress and more challenges with their physiology. So hope that was some helpful information for you. If it was, please like and share this video with other people that you know might find it helpful. And I just want you to know that there's hope and healing available when you really seek out some answers. And we have some really, really great answers to helping with some of this nervous system dysregulation that can be impacting your hormones. And if you're just not getting well and you've done all the right things, this definitely could be the missing piece of the puzzle. So health and happiness. Have a super fantastic day. Hope this was some really great information for you. Have a super amazing week. Thanks so much.